And welcome back to Top Story. As promised, we have the lead, the head, the man, the chief of the city, Mayor Christian Provenzano, in with us today. Good of you to join us. Thanks so much. I know you're busy.
And thanks for having me here. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you.
And speaking of being busy, we were with you yesterday when you received this phenomenal. Now, you should have heard the mayor talking about this gift that he received yesterday, and how, before we went to air, how it touched you so much.
Yes, yesterday I was at the Indian Friendship Center, the Indigenous Friendship Center, I think they're calling it now. And the reason why I went was at the beginning of my first term, I was invited, and they were the first group in the city to invite me to something. It was the first thing I went to.
I
as
remember
the mayor.
that.
It was the first thing I went to as the mayor. And they were really kind, and they really embraced me. And I told them yesterday that they really shaped and gave me a lot of confidence for my first term as the mayor. So we wanted, as we started the second term, to go back and revisit and have a listening session and talk to the folks that do great work there. And they presented me with a medallion, and the medallion is a beaded medallion of the city's actual new crest.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was really special, and the beadwork was tremendous, and I think you're showing some footage from the visit.
It's beautiful.
The beadwork was tremendous, and the medallion special, and it's certainly a gift that it was really touching, and I'm gonna cherish really for the rest of my life.
Now, I'm sure you looked at it and thought, how on earth, how long did this take?
I asked. It took.
Did you?
Yeah, it took the young lady, and she was there. The young lady who did the artwork was there, and it took her quite a long time.
You know what? I think it's phenomenal that the tradition continues.
Listen, we have so much to learn from our First Nation partners, and they've got a tremendous culture and tremendous history and tremendous heritage, and a great value system. And it's important to recognize that, and it's important to learn from it. One of the things we talked about yesterday that I think we really have to focus on, not only as a community but as a country, is that truth comes before reconciliation. And we're not going to get to reconciliation until we acknowledge truth. And there's some great truths, and those great truths center around the importance of the First Nations community and culture and leadership in our country, and the importance of their heritage, and there's lots that we can celebrate and learn from. And there's some really harsh truths, which is how they have been treated historically by all levels of government. So we have to acknowledge those harsh truths. We have to talk through and recognize the generational trauma that has resulted in, and how First Nations people have been impacted by their treatment. And then we have to celebrate what they have to offer. And I think when you look at just that one gift, that medallion I received yesterday, there's so much beauty in it, but there's a lot of history in it too. And one of the things that was really nice to be able to point to is that it's the city's crest, and the motto is Ojibwe. And it's a formal crest issued by the Governor General's office, and we are as far as I understand it, as I've been advised, the only municipality in Ontario to have a formal crest that has Ojibwe in it as a motto.
That's phenomenal.
Something to be proud of.
Absolutely. Now, you talked so much about, the tradition and how the harsh things that we have to deal with, truth and reconciliation, and how generational it is. Do you think that people understand that?
I think that
people who aren't Indigenous.
I think that people are starting to, and I can tell probably a story in that respect. I don't think people fully understand it. Like I said, I don't think we have fully talked through the truth. I think it's important that we recognize and are publicly recognizing just take the residential school system. I mean, Chief Justice Beverly McLaughlin, the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, called it cultural genocide. So you have a major national leader figure in our country recognizing that. I've done the same thing. We have to do those things. But, all this comes to education. And I grew up in the East End by Snowden Park and by Algoma University. I never knew when I was growing up. I never knew when I was growing up. I never knew when I was in high school. I never knew when I was in university that was...
How historical that is.
That's right, and that site was the site of a former residential school. And I didn't know because no one taught me that.
That's right.
I learned that later in my life, and then I learned what that came to mean later in my life. early in my mayoralty, 4 years ago, I was driving down Queen Street with one of my nephews, who at that point was just starting his high school life at St. Mary's College. And we were driving down Queen Street, and he was in grade 9, and he said to me, "Uncle Christian, did you know that that was an Indian residential school?" And I said, I didn't growing up, but I do now. I said, "When did you learn that?" And he said, "Well, they taught that to me in school."
Awesome.
And then I said to him, I said, to imagine, this is my nephew, it's my brother Aaron's son, and he's got 3 and a little girl. So this is one of them. And I said to him, I said, imagine if somebody came along and took you from us. Like, imagine that. Like, I can't imagine it. I can't think of somebody coming along and taking you from us. But imagine what that would do to your dad. And imagine what that would do to your mom. Imagine what that would do to grandma and grandpa and me. It's inconceivable in our lives that would happen. That happened to thousands and thousands and thousands of First Nations families. And we have to talk about that. We have to talk about what that did to them generationally and how that disrupted like the most important bonds you have, which are the bonds with your parents and your siblings and your grandparents and your community.
They're your first circle.
So I don't think we're there. I don't think that we all understand what the truth is, because we have to do a lot more listening, because they have to tell us. But I see signs that we're getting there, and when I have, I see my nephew learning about something, when he's 13, that I didn't learn about until, much older,
grown, yeah.
much older than that. I think that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. There's a positive there for sure. Lots of work still to do, though. As you said when you during your speech after you won the re-election, I'm proud of what I've done, but I've got a lot of work left to do still.
That's the case. I think we worked hard last term, but look, our community's challenges, we don't stand alone. There's lots of smaller cities across the country that are dealing with the same things we're dealing with, but I'm not preoccupied with those. I'm preoccupied with this city, and there's lots of good work that we did last term, and it was a positive term, but we still have a lot of substantial challenges that we have to meet. So there's lots more work left to do, and I'm confident about the next 4 years, and I'm confident we're going to do a lot of good work.
Now, I know you're just starting with a brand new team, because basically council is half new and half veterans.
And smaller.
And smaller, yes.
Yeah.
So how's that going? I know it's early, but how's it going so far?
Well, I was really happy after our first meeting. I felt like it was a good meeting. There were a lot of very substantive things on that agenda, and I thought they were all dealt with very professionally, and I liked the tone and pace of the meeting. For a first meeting, I think it was a great start. Look, we have a really solid group here, and I think they have a significant capacity. I look out and I see a lot of really capable, intelligent people that I think will make some good decisions for our community. So I'm excited by it. I like the balance, of the experienced councillors and then the new councillors. I think that looks good for the future too, because I think you'll have some people obviously run again, and they'll be able to have that experience, and you'll probably have some people whose council's careers will draw to a conclusion after this, and so there'll be room for new voices and new ideas. So I think we've got a great balance this term. I think we've got a really capable group, and we were together last night socially, and there's a lot of collegiality and a lot of positive attitudes, and everybody seems really excited. So I'm really happy to be part of it.
Terrific. We were talking to former councillor Susan Myers, and she talked to us a little bit about why she felt it was time to step down. And you have indicated that this will be your last term. Is that all about the balance you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what the right number is. Susan stayed for 12 years, right? So that was the right number for her. It seemed to me that 8 should be sufficient in a leadership position. I don't believe that people should hold on to these positions in perpetuity. I just don't believe that. So if that's not your belief, then when you get the position, you can't say, well, that doesn't apply to me, right? So you got to walk the walk, and if you believe in something, you got to show people you believe in it by your actions. So I had decided when I started that before I put my name in the first time, that I would do my best, but I realized it might be something that I had to commit to for more than 4 years. And I was willing to do that at the beginning. And I thought that 8 years would be the right timeline to make a substantial difference and serve the community. And then you have to make room for other people to be able to do that. So,
Other people, new blood, good ideas.
yeah, we have, but Councillor Myers, you know, she had a great 12-year
Yep.
career, and that seemed to be the right number for her. And 12, Councillor Christian's on his 3rd term, so he'll have been there for 12 years. I don't know what his plans are at the end of that, but you know, if he determines that's the right number for him, I think it is a personal decision that you have to
Yes.
make. But I think it's good, and I think that's one of the reasons why we had some new faces. You know, some people didn't get reelected, but other people decided to make room for other people. And so that's why we have the balance that we currently have.
So at this point, I know, again, it's very, very early. Forward 4 years, are you just going to be a plain old lawyer after all this?
Oh, I'm not
How
thinking.
bored are you going to be?
I'm not thinking I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do in 4 years.
No.
I'm completely
You've got
preoccupied.
lots to do.
I have a plenty to think about in the here and now, and I'm focused on the next 4 years. When I get to the end of 2022, I'll figure out what I need to do there. But I fully expect with my wife and my children, I'll be busy enough.
I think you'll have your hands full, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so much for stopping in. It's so good to see you. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. We want to wish everybody in the community obviously a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we hope everybody has a safe and fun holiday season.
Absolutely. Let's all stay safe.
Okay, take
Thanks,
care.
Christian. We'll be back right after this.